Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And those of you that will be listening to this recording afterwards, thank you for checking out our materials and application. Today, we'll talk a little bit about application compatibility inside MSIX, and we cannot talk about that without mentioning the keyword PSF. We'll mostly review how apps have evolved from a compatibility standpoint inside the MSIX container. I want to talk about how you create packages with the Microsoft packaging tool or maybe other tools, but from my perspective, I've seen many people choose to build up with a packaging tool from Microsoft because it's free. Then they hit problems around compatibility issues, and then we'll talk how we can help you fix those issues much easier than what you would do with the free tools available in our ecosystem. First of all, a quick recap for those of you that don't know what PSF is, or might just be getting just started with MSIX and PSF now. I'll spend 2 minutes, I promise I'll be quick, about explaining what is the purpose of the Package Support Framework, or PSF as we call it in our industry. So this is an open source project launched by Microsoft and then extended by third-party vendors like us that allows us to include inside the MSIX packages additional payloads. That means an additional exe file that acts as a launcher, like a special bootstrapper that launches your applications, and some DLLs. And together, these resources allow us to control the behavior of your application so that it can run nicely inside of an MSIX container. The purpose of those call hijacks, as we call them, is to allow the application to access files that otherwise would be unavailable, or to redirect, and of course, to redirect those API calls, or to handle other situations, as you'll see going further in my presentation today. So even if this started as an open source project with just a few fixups from Microsoft, we extended it with additional fixups based on the feedback and the packages that we've seen from our user space. These are all included in all the paid editions of Advanced Installer, and also the free fixups are available in the free edition, the Advanced Installer Express edition, which you can find in the Microsoft Store if you just want to play with the free edition. And more details on the PSF you can see in the article that I wrote a few years back on our website. That's called Package Support Framework Introduction. It's linked here in the lower side of this slide. It's available on our website. You can find there some more details and a video explaining this much. So these are the files that I mentioned. So if you extract an MSIX with 7-zip, you'll find a similar folder structure if you have PSF included in the package, which is most commonly the case because over 50% of the packages that we've worked with require some sort of PSF fixups. So the AI stubs folder that you'll see in the upper side of the image is particular to packages created with Advanced Installer because that's where we put our exe and additional resources if we need that. And it's called like that because we had our own launcher before Microsoft announced the PSF project. It was doing similar fixups, but with a much more reduced scopes because we were limited to the with regards to the access to the API access from the system. When Microsoft released the PSF project, we could take that and add on top of our existing AI stubs launchers and expand those. And along with the launcher, you have the fixups, DLLs, and their configurations. And these might be different depending on what fixups are required for your package. You might need a file redirection fixup, you might need a registry, or an environment variable fixup, depending on what packaging tool you use. Also, this could differ. And then you have at the end of this picture, you have the runtimes DLLs, which are mostly the same because these are distributed by Microsoft, and all of the packaging tools that work with PSF need to include these DLLs in the package. Okay, so now that we are done with the introduction of PSF, Let's go back and talk a little bit about the app compatibility trends that we've seen in the last years. And this is a chart which I borrowed from our friend Tim Mangan. We've been working on and off in the last years. We've also written a little book on MSIX. You can find that on our website too if you're curious. But this is something that he's done on a set of packages from his customers, evaluations of packages that work when when they are converted to MSIX work without any changes, like the one in bright green area, and those that require changes. This area that has been growing each year. And we did a similar study like this in 2022, but the only difference between these studies is that there were actually two main differences. We don't have access to the same packages that Tim had when he did the test. So this is like for both of us, the results are subjective. Microsoft says that their success rate is much bigger because they have access to a lot more packages. We can't comment on that. But and the second difference is that we tested these packages only with advanced installer and the fixups that were at that moment in 2022 in advanced installer, while Tim tested the packages with the fixups that Microsoft provided and additional fixup that he built using the Microsoft packaging tool. So around 2022, he was in the same range between 60 to 70% success rate when you combine packages that work without PSF and packages that work with PSF. Similar with our rate, but of course, depending on the type of packages that you test online. The part that we all like from this chart is that compatibility has increased dramatically. So you can now convert a huge part of your applications to MSIX if you need to. That might not always be the case. So you need to carefully evaluate if you want to build an MSIX for an older setup or not. It might just work as it is as an MSI or EXE if you don't need to do any VDI streaming or other kinds of non-persistent environments where MSX has a lot more advantages or some other reasons for which you would like to go to MSIX route. So overall, we have a good compatibility. The not so pleasant part is that by design, by default, many packages require some sort of PSF fixups. And with a free tool from Microsoft, the quality of package compatibility hasn't increased, or the percentage of package compatibility hasn't been increased. So you can see here a small increase in the first year. So MSX was released in 2018. And in 2019, we saw a nice 10-50% increase in compatibility rates, and then some minor upward trend, maybe 5% or so based on Teams test. Again, we don't have access to Microsoft application repository. But for all the other problems, you have to use some sort of PSF. And up until a few years ago, you couldn't even include PSF if you are using the Microsoft packaging tool. And even today, to include the PSF with the packaging tool is not very easy, or to edit them is even harder. And that's what I'm going to show you a little bit later. But the idea is that if you want to build stable repository of applications packaged as MSIX, you need to accept that a lot of your time will be spent tweaking and updating the PSF configurations from that package. So my recommendation is to focus and to prioritize time to learn how the PackSport framework works, what are the options to troubleshoot those packages, and how you can inject those fixups into your packages using the tools available on the market, be it Advanced Installer, the Microsoft Packaging tool, or any other tool that you prefer. Without those skills, you will have a hard time adopting MSIX inside your infrastructure. Okay, so now let's go a little bit further. Is this PSF the new custom action hell? I don't have any magic potion here, but from my experience, I can say that it's not that bad as it looks. Yeah, it's a lot of C++ code in there. The good part is that you don't need to write that code or to debug it. That's why we and other people like Tim are are in this industry to build and to help you build packages with the tools that we provide. All we need is for you to share with us the packages that you cannot fix using the current library of fixups available in your tool set. So if you're using Advanced Installer, the packaging tool from Microsoft, and you have an application for which maybe you've done a file redirection, or you've done added some file arguments to your shortcuts or something like that, that's not working, send that application to us, and we'll see, of course, also explain us what is the issue, how do you expect the application to behave or not, and we'll try to create a fix-up that addresses those issues. We do not build custom fix-ups just for one customer, but we learn from the situations that from the packages that we receive, and we've included additional fix-ups in Advanced Installer that handle generic situations like opening README files or help files with different encodings, or allowing access to files from the package that are to be opened in a different tool outside of the package, like a browser or a document reader, and also making available files that are included into the package but not visible in the virtual file system of the application because it's running in a containerized system. So the idea here is to not get scared that you have to write all kinds of code and stuff like that, and is to take decisive action when you see that an application cannot be converted and fixed in a reasonable time, to share it with us. Even if you're not a customer of us, we still want to learn from those applications and to include those fixes into the future version of Advanced Install. Okay, now I want to talk to you a little bit about the problems that I've seen with the packages created with the Microsoft packaging tool. So as I said, we are not surprised that people create a lot of MSIX packages with the tool created by Microsoft because it's free and it's recommended by the platform vendor. So your boss won't be upset if you've chosen to use something from Microsoft. That being said, if you're wasting too much time trying to fix those packages, or those packages are unreliable, or it just hard for you to train people to use the tool because it's not so intuitive and easy to work with, that might be a problem for you. Here I've noted just a few examples of the issues that we've seen in packages with the packaging tool. Probably there are others, probably there are scenarios where it's behaving a lot more better. But these are common issues where you can have applications with multiple shortcuts that are not configured correctly into the into the new package generated inside MSIX, mostly losing or ignoring command line arguments, or ignoring shortcuts that are not targeting exe files, and environment variables are another huge issue that, from my knowledge, wasn't fixed by Microsoft. Other vendors have some sort of solutions for this, depending from a vendor to vendor. We also have our own proprietary solution to handle environment variables, as you'll see later in my demo. But all of this together or separately might cause some of your packages to fail to work as expected. For some, we try to provide automated suggestions. For some, you will be completely automatically handled, like command line arguments for your shortcut. For if the shortcut is to a non-exe file, we don't ask you about that. We just handle it automatically. If you want to put a shortcut to an old CHM file or some HTML file or some docs or something like that from your package. Here is a unprocessed or raw list of some of the things that we do in Advanced Installer to fix your packages and to make them work as expected. These are basically screenshots from our internal documentation. And on the right side, you'll see a list of all kinds of validation that we do on the package to make sure that the resources are compatible within an MSIX format. On the left side, you see different type of fix-ups and synchronizations that we do. The synchronization part is mostly an internal slang for basically optimizing resource sharing between inside a project and advanced installer. So with a project from advanced installer, you can build multiple outputs. So you can have a single project that generates an MSIX package, but can also generate an MSI if you change your mind, or you have maybe different targets for a certain department, which is using handheld, bring your own devices. You might want to stream an MSIX when they use the application, while for another department that's always using the same machine from 9 to 5, you might just want to install an MSI because you know that those users don't change at that machine. And the sync part is where basically we share resources in the project. So if you create a file type association or COM or firewall or any of elements from that list, we automatically make sure those get the same configurations get included inside the MSI or the MSIX without you having to do any additional work. The other features are extensions of the standard MSIX package container. Standard extensions of the MSIX container around its limitations. So, as I said, running shortcuts with arguments or injecting environment variables inside the projects, inside the processes of your applications, handling synchronization of COM components, and all the other. Another important issue that we've seen multiple apps is that the previous EXE or MSI-based installer of those apps were installing files in various user data, user profile locations. And all of those folders are not accessible inside the virtual file system of an MSIX packaged application. So you need to copy those either outside of the container in the real folder on the machine at the first time when the application is launched, or in a redirected cache location specific to that package if you need to use those resources only for this application. Sometimes those resources are shared between multiple applications, so in that case you need to copy those directly in the real user profile folder that was targeted by the developers. For that scenario, we have an advanced installer capability that allows you to, with one click, to configure these redirections, and it also notifies you that you have certain resources that might require redirection and allows you to decide if you want to redirect those or not with just answering a few questions in our UI. More details about those changes and overall improvements that we do in MSIX, you can find on our website at this link, advancedinstaller.com/MSIX changelog. So this is something recently launched by my colleagues. I asked them to build it because we were getting feedback from time to time from our customers saying, "Hey, you're laying down and not working that much on MSIX and stuff like that." And the actual truth is that we have been working almost in each release, doing some kind of improvements or new features or fixes for MSIX over the last years. And we haven't gone back and filtered all of them because it's like 7 years now since Microsoft launched MSIX. But from the last 2 years, we managed to extract all the release notes related to MSIX, and we've included those here. So if you just go to our downloads page, here you can find the full version history of Advanced Installer, which includes anything related to our releases from MSI, EXE, and now MSIX builds, or just MSIX changes that if you're interested on this side of packaging and you don't care about the rest, you can just focus on, hey, what's new on the MSIX side in Advanced Installer, and you can keep up to date with the changes that will come in the following releases. And speaking about changes, for those of you that have missed our announcement, I think it was 2 months ago, to make it easier for those of you that create MSIX packages with the Microsoft packaging tool, we decided to move our MSIX editor from the Architect Edition, which is was basically our solution for IT professionals, where you can do repackaging, MSI editing, MSIX editing, all of that, to the Enterprise Edition. So usually the Professional Enterprise Edition are only recommended to developers that create packages from scratch, while the Architect Edition is required by people that want to modify your package, edit, and or fix all kinds of packages that are not authored by them from the beginning, and they don't have access to the source code. But in this case, we've made exceptions to make it much more accessible for you, so you can take any package created with the Microsoft packaging tool and then fix it with our MSIX editor, as I will show a little bit later. And actually, right now it's time for our demo. So let's open Advanced Installer here. And I have it loaded with a setup package. This is a test setup package, so an unreleased version of Advanced Installer that will be coming up probably after Christmas, so in January. We have one release scheduled for this week, but this doesn't include these changes. So you just go to File, Open, select your MSIX, or right-click on it and say Edit in Advanced Installer, and then everything will be loaded here. So as you can see, this package, I hope you can see, it was created with the Microsoft packaging tool. It was not created with Advanced Installer, and we can easily load it and continue editing it. And over the last months, we've been working on a feature that allows you to better understand what Advanced Installer is fixing into your packages and adding on top of the native support from the MSIX container. And we call this package analysis. You can access it from the view menu here. Just click analysis, and this view will open up for you. Like this one from Zoom. And right now, I have to manually start the analysis phase. In a future version, this will be automatically done when you open the MSIX package, and it will give you a list of potential issues and things that we will also fix automatically for you if that's the case. So, for example, now we're just highlighting the issues, but if the package would be created by us and it would contain changes to the parameters list, or as this package contains COM entries that we've already processed from the registry and converted those registry, as it says here, some keys that were here were displayed were moved to the COM view, and this will be correspondingly translated into app manifest entries into your manifest inside the package. This will also be listed here, so you know exactly what Advanced Installer has tweaked around the package that you've originally generated. And on top of that, you'll find suggestions on things that you might want to fix or not. For example, this package was captured and we detected inside the registry from the package some environment variables. It's the same thing, the same type of detection that we usually do if we if we repackage an exe to create an MSI. And in that case, we convert those information from whatever that exe used to generate those environment variables to according to the corresponding entries into the MSI tables. In this case, we synchronize the information from the environment view to entries inside the MSIX package. And now the view is empty because we've just detected the environment variables in the registry page, but since you haven't taken any action, we haven't populated it. But if I just hit fix now, you'll see this was marked as fixed. Please mind our design. This is still work in progress, so we'll have to change some colors and some highlights to make it easier to separate the fixed issues from the ones that are still unprocessed. And we have now our environment variables included in the package. And for those of you that know that a little bit about MSIX, you know that there is no native support for environment variables, and you would need to use some sort of PSF. And as I showed you, if you manually configure PSF, that things might get ugly. You would basically need to go add some DLLs, add some exe into the package, then modify a config.json file and configure inside that file the information required for PSF to instruct it how to load those DLLs and how to process the environment variables in this case. But with Advanced Installer, all you have to do is to add them into this view. You can add it as suggested here, or maybe you decide to create your own new environment variable if you know that your application requires a certain environment variable. and then you just add it into the list, and we take care of the rest. So the moment when you save the package, let's see if this test package is going to give me any issues. No, so far so good. It's going to save the package and just continue with other issues that has found in the package. So in that version, we will also merge this issues pane, which is an older feature from Advanced Installer, with the analysis pane. So you can get a single view of all the issues from the package, where you can also fix some of them, because here most of them could not be fixed, the issues that you would see here, and the UX wasn't that friendly with it. So it wasn't also highlighting the changes that we've already done into the package. Let's have a look at maybe another fix, like adding an app pattern tree for an exe that we've seen in the package, and this will end up into the declarations view. Much easier for you to see and to also add manually if you want. But for things that are not highlighted here, maybe you've added all of this, and nothing shows up in the analysis pane, but your application still fails to run correctly. And in that case, you need to go to the app compat view, and this is the view which we've dedicated specifically to configuring PSF fixups manually. So if you know that you need something, or if you don't know what's the problem, then you need to start tracing the application. So you have here some tracing options in the ribbon menu, and here you can play with it depending on the application. We have some documentation that will help you get started with it. Basically, this is including the tracing library from Microsoft that allows us to monitor the API calls done by your application. And then when you hit trace app, it will build the MSIX and install it in a debug mode. So here I need to enable digital signing for my package in order to trace this one. Okay, I think I closed that accidentally. But let me open the package one more time and see if it's going to work this tracing in this unreleased candidate version. If not, you can see it in another demo of mine that's available online. Okay, so the test certificate, let's synchronize our publisher. And now go to app compat and hit trace. Let's see if this wants to work or not today. It cannot be signed. Anyway, so this is a test package and a lot of people work with it. So probably there are other issues in the package that are giving me headaches today. Usually that package will be signed and installed locally on your machine and launch, and you will see a log with the trace history of the API calls from your application. And then you can start playing around with fixups. Let's say you want to maybe add a path to a DLL that's not found to your application. You just say, okay, I have the DLL in my app here, but the application is not aware there, or maybe it's in another folder from the application. I just want to specify the location where that DLL can be loaded relatively to my application. Or I want to execute a PowerShell script. Let's see, do I have any PowerShell around here? Not here, I actually wanted here. This one. Okay, deploy application. And then you can configure the script's execution policy of your script. And this can be executed when you start the application or when you close the application. The same you can do with registry, handling registry permissions and access like that. Or you can even define your own custom fix. Let's say new custom fix up, and I need MSIX DLL. I don't know what this is, but it doesn't matter because we won't run it. Okay, let's delete these ones. So in this case, let's say you have a fix up that was built by some other organization and shared inside the Microsoft repository. You can take that DLL, add it manually into Advanced Installer, configure its values that usually end up in the config.json file that's present into your package. And that's it. Advanced Installer will consume it as it was built by us and included inside your package together with the other fixups that you have configured for your application. And that allows you to even deploy maybe your custom fixup if you're a bigger organization and have the power to build your own internal fixups, or just receive a fixup from somebody else that's was kind enough to build and share it with you. Let's see one more test. So let's have this application. Let's pretend it has a folder with some files in the user profile, not DLLs, just some PDFs, something small. And now if we try to build this application and save it, it should warn us about some resources. Okay, I don't want to digitally sign it because obviously my certificate is not the one that you want. But let's build it without signing it. I just want to build it. Okay, so target version. Okay, I need to sign this one. Okay, analyze. Let's see if it's going to analyze these solutions. So got space environment variables. Okay, so it refers to the environment variables because we didn't save the package back then before I closed it accidentally with my tracing fixup. Okay, so it's not going to say anything in this editor because this is not complete yet. What you will see, it's things that I've already seen in our internal testers, is that when you save the package, it will notice that you have files under the user profile, and it will give you a warning here in this list saying, hey, do you want to redirect this folder or not, or some files from that folder access? Because if those files get included in the package, the application will not be able to read them. Okay, so if you click OK and say fix now, you will get an entry in the app compat view similar with this one. So I'll just add it manually. It's called a folder redirection, and this allows you to redirect the folder from your package and the access to the folder from your packages and its resources to the real folder on the machine, user profile, the first time when the application is launched, or to the safe location, which is the package cache location that's available on any Windows machine where with the MSIX packages installed. So that's a cache that's unique for each MSIX package that you install. You can find the details in this article that's linked in our user interface that explains more about how we do this redirection and even how you can do it with the Microsoft packaging tool if you don't have a license for advanced installer. It's just going to be a lot more harder than a few clicks, as you've seen in our UI. And once you do that and build a package, the first time when you launch the application, all the contents from this folder will be copied either in the location that you've chosen, and we will also include a file redirection fixup, which is not going to be visible in this UI, but it will be included in the package to inform your application that those files are available at those locations. Okay. Most of the other changes, like if you have file type associations, you will see them and we automatically convert them here. If something is missed, we can give you suggestions like the ones that you can see here now. And you can manually just add your own declarations into the package very easily from this UI. The same for firewall rules. I think these are not captured at all by the Microsoft packaging tool. I know some of you prefer to handle the firewall rules outside of the package, depending on the tools that you have available in your infrastructures around managing permissions and security. But if you do need to include them in the package, you can easily configure them from the same declarations view in Advanced Installer. And once you've saved that, you can just go build the MSIX. In the future, the next version, you will also get a view that allows you to build an MSIX app attach image, so you can test that easily on your local machine before deploying it in the Azure Virtual Desktop. Okay, so this was the demo side, and kind of that's it for today. It was a shorter session, but let's see if we have any question. And here you can find more details on our book around MSIX packaging, which I wrote together with Tim and Kevin, and some free tools that we share with the community. So I have two questions from Andy. Thank you, Andy. One scenario I have faced quite a bit is migrating AppV packages to MSIX. I have tried using a PowerShell script to first run and copy move the AppV user app data, but the PSF intervenes and won't allow me to access the AppV app data because the path is being redirected. Okay, so basically what you're saying, Andy, is that your PowerShell script cannot copy those resources because it's already being affected by the virtual file system redirection from inside a container. Well, that's not a problem for us, as I showed you here. So if you do this using the folder redirection fix-up that I showed you, our guys built some magic. So all you have to do is just pick the folder that you want to be redirected. This will be redirected, let's say, to the real location in your case, if you want that on the machine. And then your application can access those resources without any problem. And if you still have problems using this fix-up, send us a package so we can test it, or just a sample package if you cannot share the original application with us, and we'll have a look at it. There were some stranger cases in the past. I don't know if with this fix-up specifically, but with other fix-ups that were not working as expected because that application was written over 20 years ago and it was using a different older API call from Microsoft for accessing a certain file, and that wasn't correctly handled by the PSF redirection engine. But in our case, first of all, we don't use scripts to do this copying. We do it all from C++ code inside our own launcher. But in my example, where I show you how to do it with the Microsoft packaging tool, it was something done with PowerShell scripts, if I remember correctly. You should find the samples in our user guide article linked here. Okay. Another issue for a recent issue I faced with the MSIX package I created over 1 year ago following an upgrade to Windows 11 24 H2. Redirection wasn't working correctly for files in the program file 64 folder, and the client exe was using the full Windows apps path, as discussed on a certain forum on our advancedstart.com forums. Okay, not sure if this was a PSF or a Windows update issue, but broke a few hundred devices on my machine. Okay. So it seems that this issue was discussed by Andy with some of my colleagues from the support team. I don't have the details, but in scenarios like this, we recommend you send us as many details as you can share with us over the support@advancedstart.com email. So your conversation will be private, and we do not share these packages with anyone. We usually delete them after we finish testing or fixing something, and we can investigate if it's something caused by a Windows update. We've had problems with certain Windows updates that have broken MSIX functionality in the past. So this would not be a first, or if it's just some quirky limitation. Okay, another anonymous question. I have read that PSF fixups are not entirely stable on some of those later builds of Windows 11 24 H2. Report of access violation for file redirection. We haven't seen any updates on Microsoft on these issues, but I recommend that you try also using the PSF fixups included in Advanced Installer if those fixups that you've tested were used within the Microsoft packaging tool. Okay, because it might be also the cases that other tools could use a different version of the file redirection fix, maybe an older version, maybe a customized version for their scenario. So the reasons for crashing could be different. Or in the end, it could be something from Microsoft where they maybe their security team was too careful to prevent certain scenarios and wasn't realizing it was blocking their own functionality designed to help us fix these MSIX packages. Okay, so I think these are all the questions we got. Thank you for joining us for our one last webinar of the year. Stay tuned to our release notes. Happy holidays to all of you. Bye-bye.